All right, let's get right to the heart of this thing.
Don't fight it, son. Confess quickly.
Strange women lying in ponds, distributing swords is no basis for a system of government.
It's evil! Don't touch it!
That was only one of the many occasions on which I met my death.
'Twas Framework and the Slithy Toves did gyre and podcast in the wave. All mimsy were the Borogroves and the Momraths outgrabe. I just ran out of nonsense there. I had to stick to the actual lines. All right, it's Framework. Hi, I'm John, one of the hosts of Framework. With me, as always, the other host of Framework, Al. How are you, Al?
I'm good. The rule is I don't run out of nonsense until about 64 minutes into one of these episodes. So we should be good for a while.
Yeah, that is, of course, the opening stanza from the Jabberwock poem by Lewis Carroll, the inspiration for Terry Gilliam's second feature film and his first as a solo director, Jabberwocky from 1977. And this is our ongoing series on the films of Terry Gilliam, and now for something completely Gilliam. And so now we have the enviable task of discussing one of his most popular films. This bizarre oddity from in between Python movies that he barely even counts as a real film himself. What did you think of this movie?
I listened to the Criterion disc. This is on Criterion. Shocked me. I thought this was a reviled movie by anybody who actually knew it existed. But no, it's actually the Pythons. Well, he and Palin seem to think actually pretty highly of it. They seem to have had a great time making it and like it. And like somebody at Criterion thought highly enough.
He's kind of one of those guys where every movie he makes is in the Criterion collection, sort of. I've got like at least half a dozen Criterion Gilliam movies, including this one now. And I think he's just got one of those Wes Anderson deals, is what it is. This is an interesting movie, though. I do think there is stuff to talk about here. It's a bizarre one, for certain. It kind of depends what mood you find Gilliam in, how he describes it. He talks about it as an escape route from Python films. He says it's more quirky than it is funny. And
I can agree with him there.
Expresses a lot of belief that this doesn't really hold up on its own. But as you said, yes, he also has a lot of passion for it. I mean, the commentary track is a little bit like, reminds me of like listening to Trey Parker and Matt Stone talk about their really early projects, Cannibal the Musical.
Making Cannibal the Musical, yeah. And just
it takes them to a time.
Which friends they miss working with and so forth. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, I guess the thing with Gilliam and why this might appeal to the Criterion people is that this is one of those early ones, like Cannibal the Musical, like kind of like Bottle Rocket or whatever, where you go, okay, this is clearly about as weak as this director's efforts get, but they are an auteur, such that they're the only one who could have made this particular movie.
We've talked about some stuff like this in the past. You know, Christopher Nolan made Following. This is sort of a finding his footing movie. It's just kind of weird. He made this after he made a comic masterpiece that has endured for 50 years.
Exactly.
That's really bizarre.
Well, this is him trying to make a quote-unquote real movie with an actual like narrative and plot arc and such.
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah, but even that. So I think that's the issue here is that this is him trying to break away from Python, but not really because he's still starring one of the Python guys. And Terry Jones is in there too, and
it's a Middle Ages comedy. It's a Dark Ages comedy specifically with a bunch of sketches in it.
Yeah, it's still like 40 to 50% Python sketches at least, and so that leaves it in a place where
it's middled.
Yeah. It doesn't. It's way too goofy to work as like straight up a monster movie to be exciting or to create tension ever.
The closest comparison is something like Dragon Slayer, which is a fully committed medieval fantasy adventure, and it's really nothing like that. I mean, the visual
probably doesn't wait until the last 12 minutes to really bring in the dragon.
Oh, certainly, yes, of course. I don't know that I don't mind. I mean, well, I don't know. I guess I wouldn't mind more of this thing running around the movie, but it does pay off. Fortunately,
That is nice.
it's a weird movie. I'm going to say that a lot. I've got a feeling. According to Gilliam, sort of inspired by his long desire to make a Gormenghast film, which is like a very, very British thing. It's sort of a fantasy version of Saltburn, I guess, older fantasy novel from England. Sort of about debauched rich people getting defeated and outwitted by a servant.
In a giant crumbling castle. And so that seems to have been an inspiration sort of aesthetically more than narratively, perhaps, that he was hoping to make that with the BBC and put a lot of that sort of like design thought and effort into the sort of crumbling castle of King Bruno the Questionable. Is that his name?
Yes, Bruno the Questionable. What a guy. We'll get to him. It is quite striking visually, and it's if anything, an extrapolation of what they're doing in Holy Grail, which is they're really, really emphasizing the filth of the Middle Ages. There's maybe more shit here than in the previous film. In fact, unquestionably.
Well, yeah.
How many times is Palin urinated on?
3, I believe. But you're right, it doesn't step away from Grail because the aesthetic is so similar. You don't get a lot of Dark Ages movies, period. And you definitely don't get Dark Ages goofy comedies very often. So it's impossible to not compare this directly to Holy Grail, which means that if you had somehow seen this movie without seeing Holy Grail, it might be revelatory. You might be, oh my God, this is one of the funniest, absurdist things ever. But since everybody has seen Grail before this, you just go, oh, it's like Holy Grail with half as many sketches.
Yeah. And, it does not star, well, it stars one of the legendary British comedy actors of the time, and then a bunch of other people. To hear them talk about it on the Criterion disc, all these guys were like British comedy legends on television or what have you. I couldn't tell you a single one of them. Myself. Or
like the British version of vaudeville theater.
Yeah.
Apparently is what like Bruno the Questionable and his Chamberlain are, who are, they are probably my favorite part of the movie.
Yeah. They're pretty funny. But the ensemble does not match Eric Idle, John Cleese. It can't really live up to that. And part of that is that it feels like serious actors being tasked with doing Python sketches straight a lot of the time, was my feeling.
Yes.
And, that can be okay and interesting. It just, as a direct comparison to the masters kind of doing their masterpiece of it in Holy Grail, it seems like a lesser version of that. And even Palin, I mean, he's kind of called on to be straight man here a little bit. I mean, it's the most pathetic loser straight man imaginable. But he's not the comic engine of most scenes. He's the guy that
definitely not. Yeah. I mean, it's honestly a good performance, like just in how he's able to be sort of cherubic enough and like project this sort of innocence / dimwittedness. Such that he's able to play a character who's clearly supposed to be like 17 in his early 30s, and it doesn't really like, I mean, especially within the tone of this movie, that doesn't like bother you. No,
not at all. This character is, he's stupid is a big part of it. This is one of those movies that has contempt for its protagonist. It makes him.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it makes him a sort of a plucky loser, a good-hearted loser, but mostly just finds him pathetic to behold.
Well, sort of good-hearted, but also I think the movie and Gilliam sort of agree with his father's deathbed renunciation of him as having like no imagination and being sort of the death of all that is good about English society.
Maybe a little bit, yes.
He's just not malicious.
That sequence, by the way, early on, his father's deathbed, his father, the Cooper, just shitting on him as he dies, that's a rough scene, man. I mean, it's kind of funny, but it definitely falls into that category of it's weird seeing a Python sketch played straight.
Yeah, a Python sketch with real actors like that. I mean, it's not that far off from the Swamp Castle dynamic. But instead of you have Palin on the receiving end, instead of being the the father heaping
That's true.
disdain on his son, and he does it so goofily. Having a more straight up British actor being sincere about it does change the tonality of it quite a bit.
I mean, the writing hasn't changed. It's very interesting to see because there's that part where Palin's like, "Oh, he's gone delirious." And then
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, "No, he hasn't."
He's feverish. No, he's not.
It is funny.
Apparently, that was based on a true thing that a friend of that Gilliam said he had a friend who was a folk singer, and her father on her deathbed chose that moment to really unload about how much disdain he had for her life choices to pursue folk music, and he said that. He's like, as soon as he heard it, he's like, I've got to use that sometime. That just the cruelty of it was so astounding that you got to put it out there.
He's not wrong. It is strikingly cruel. That's a hell of a scene. Well, this whole opening in the small town. Okay, so the premise of this film is that it's the Dark Ages and a monster is walking the land. It's the Jabberwock, from the Lewis Carroll poem. The movie, they say this movie is inspired by that poem. It doesn't seem at all to me. Like this is so focused on the mundane realities of the Dark Ages, and
it's not like there's a ton of Jabberwocky lore that has to be respected.
That poem has a distinct vibe and tonality. It's nonsense, it's a lot of made up words, and it's lush, and It takes place within the context of Alice in Wonderland, and or the sequel, I guess, Through the Looking Glass. And this movie has, aside from the scenes with the monster, kind of has no use for that sort of whimsy. It's much more about a basin full of shit being dumped on somebody is more the vibe of this than Lewis Carroll.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's even. I don't know that the Jabberwocky poem is necessarily set in the Dark Ages. I mean,
it's a fantasy world.
Yeah. Well, but even Through the Looking Glass or the Alice in Wonderland stuff where that appeared that is a fantasy world, but it's not a medieval world. Not really.
Well, it's knight errant coded. It's a St. George and the Dragon kind of thing, at least. It's British. And yeah, I guess, he's not writing from the Middle Ages, obviously. But, I mean, if you were to say that Gilliam is making a Lewis Carroll adaptation, this is not what I would expect to come out of it.
Oh, no, I would never put it that way, though.
No, right, yeah. Uh-huh. I mean, I guess the only real parity between them is that they like madness. But this is kind of one of the most glancingly interested in madness films that Gilliam has made. It's kind of just people are, insane because of the world they live in, and Dennis least of all, probably.
Right.
Okay, I got distracted. I was talking about the shit village they live in.
This probably is one of the better movies for us. We don't necessarily usually just go through the plot beat for beat.
But this is much of a plot.
I know, it's so scattered shot that maybe actually trying to go through it chronologically is the best way of hitting on everything.
Yeah, sure. That's a good point. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a lot of sketches again.
Yeah. So it opens with a monster eating Terry Jones.
The other director some of that of Holy Grail.
Actual language. Yeah. And that's fine. The gore here is ranked up from Holy Grail, even as the aesthetic otherwise matches it pretty well. Mm-hmm. And that's part of that whole thing of, okay, so we're doing the exact same aesthetic, but I guess we're taking it more seriously. That's just an odd ask.
It is. This opening is sort of a Jaws parody and sort of just Jaws, just straight up Jaws. And also kind of turns into The Evil Dead. That movie hasn't been made yet, of course, but, a similar shoestring solution for a gruesome murder. They just do a fast close-up on Terry Jones and sort of shake him around a bunch.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that he is already not the most accomplished filmmaker, but that was considered pretty innovative when Evil Dead did it, and this got there. I mean, I guess it's about the same time, right? This is 1980, and Evil Dead's 81. Is that right? Or
this is before then. When did this come out? Let me double check. Yeah, 77. That's right.
77. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. Maybe Life of Brian was 80 then. I was looking at.
Yeah, Life of Brian's definitely after this. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think what the thing was, I was looking at both those, because I thought that Brian came before this, and then when I looked at Brian, I was surprised that it was that late, that it was out of the 70s. But anyway, Okay, so then we meet Dennis, the Cooper's son, and his dad is making a barrel, and he's sort of immediately established the dynamic between them because Mr. Fishfinger, is that what his name is? Something like that?
Yeah.
I want to call him Fish Odor, but that's the landlord on Pop's Burgers.
I made the same mistake in my notes, yes.
Yeah. Wants him to make him some super crappy cheap barrels on the cheap for things so he can just deliver them and forget about them. And Palin's dad has too much craftsman pride to do this, but Palin is an aspiring sort of bean counter, and that's the dynamic that whole thing sets up.
Right. Mm-hmm. Well, he's also sort of the callow youth who sets out on an adventure in a medieval story. I mean, this is doing a real world-ish satire of medieval tropes, top to bottom. You know, I mean, the princess stuff is very explicit. I mean, it's quite literally the same jokes as Shrek makes, and so there is an element of him being sort of the innocent. I think the Jack and the Beanstalk kind of character. Again, 31-year-old Michael Palin doing this. That's a trope that he's doing, at least. I think that having the foulness of everything around him automatically kind of, sets that on edge, makes it ironic, and none more so than Griselda, of course. His lady love. This is pretty mean shit, man.
The daughter of the Fishfinger guy is his beloved, supposedly, but she is overweight, has her teeth like browned up, is a grotesque. And I said, she's very mean spirited. I saw some behind the scenes stuff with the actress who played this in sort of present day, and she was so cheerful and so like delighted by getting to be such a grotesque.
She loved
seems
it.
like she was like fully
And that's actually quite charming, and it goes a long way to making this feel like a little less mean-spirited. But this is something you would never see in a movie today.
Yeah.
This level of fat phobia.
It made me feel really better about it after the fact than I did actually watching it. But yeah, I mean, she's sitting there eating a potato like an apple, just a raw uncooked potato, and farting as he professes his love to her. Mm-hmm. And
she's sort of hanging out on her shit scow in the middle of the river.
Yeah. The scenery is great, though. I do love him paddling around that little pond.
Mm-hmm. But while he's trying to court her, like her dad is sticking his ass out the window of the building and having conversations with them, and a little kid.
And her kid brother comes over and just starts peeing on him.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's the vibe from the start. Just like, it's going to be gross. A lot of farting and grunting and scatology. Big movie for scatology, by the way. Sure, if you enjoy shit jokes, plenty here. The dad, by the way, Mr. Fishfinger, this is apparently this is like the Archie Bunker of England. He was on like a long-running show playing sort of a lovable racist, if you can believe it.
He's so unlovable here. Racism doesn't seem to enter into it. He's very classist, even though he doesn't seem to be very high class himself.
No, he's at the bottom of the pile. I guess even the Cooper's kind of like, oh, Mr. A wealthy man like Mr. Fishfinger. There's a lot of.
He traveled the whole 2 miles to the castle the other day. He's blown away by that. Mm-hmm. So anyway, after we introduce them, he goes back. Then we have the scene where his father denounces him on his deathbed, and he's going to set off to the city to sort of prove his dad wrong, I guess. And he goes back to their house to ask her for a token of her affection, and she tosses a half-eaten potato out the window at him.
It sort of falls unnoticed from her maw, is what it feels like. She won't even look at him.
Yeah. She doesn't even stick her head out and doesn't like really acknowledge him. But he's like, "Oh, a token of your love," blah blah. And he carries this sort of half-eaten, increasingly moldy and sprouting potato through the rest of the movie.
Gilliam loves this potato. This is the core of the character as far as he's concerned. It's sort of a loser's love token. And my favorite part is as it rots over the course of the film, starts growing roots, and Gilliam says that's meant to look like the human heart as represented in Catholic art of the time, with rays coming out of it.
Well, yeah, okay, sure. If you say so. Yeah, and this movie is inspired by Lewis Carroll.
Yeah. So I guess we're headed into the castle at this point, right? This is this is the main focus of the film. I guess is the center of the film is the depraved castle where the king lives. It's shut down. They've closed the doors to protect themselves from the ravages of the Jabberwock in the countryside. Everyone's scared of the beast, and no one knows what to do about it.
But the upper class, the merchants there, are loving this because it's increasing, I guess, foot traffic around the marketplace, and the bishop says that piety has never been higher because people are giving alms, and so they're ecstatic, I guess, that the monster is driving everybody into the town.
Yeah, there's like a very weirdly on point sociological messaging in this film. Like it's quite deliberate in its politics, oddly enough, which surprised me. I mean, it's almost you'd say this is what the movie's about, but it's not. It's kind of about absurdity and silliness. But even still, they're putting a fine point on this. The merchants are introduced riding teams of serfs like horses, and
they're being carried on litters, basically on
it's kind of a palanquin,
kind of like pallbearers, but they're they're holding the chairs on their shoulders, and then as they're going to the audience with the king, I guess they all are sort of jockeying for the best seats, so they start racing their human. I don't know. I forget what's the type of horse racing where you sit in the little chariot behind it and daintily whip it instead of actually like riding on top of the horse.
It's chariot racing, or I mean, they're not.
It's got like a one word name, but I'm playing out now. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, and what I love about this is it's so impractical too. Like this is plainly like more trouble than it's worth and not comfortable. It's just they enjoy the cruelty of it. It's so impractical that they occasionally like collapse and fall down into the street.
I mean, there's a bit later that they drop the bishop just like on his face in the muck at one point because it is just so impractical. Like another version of that honestly could have been straight out of Holy Grail. Towards the end of the movie, there's a thing where somebody goes to knock on the door of one of these rich guys, and they have like a rope to pull, like you're ringing the bell outside. Mm-hmm. But it turns out instead of pulling to ring a bell, it's inside. It's going in to a peasant with a noose around their neck, and it's pulling up to like choke him, just so he goes, ugh! And that's like instead of a bell, they choke a guy to set the alarm by going, ugh! And that feels like straight out of Holy Grail.
This is a motif, I think, to put a pin in for Gilliam. You're going to see versions of this throughout, I think. This definitely recurs. People used as furniture by rich people, or some version thereof.
And sort of Rube Goldberg mechanisms to like that seem to only exist to do the thing with some extra cruelty injected into it.
Rube Goldberg torture devices, precisely. Yeah. There's some truly epic ones coming.
Yeah, right. I mean, he's warming up for Brazil already.
This is a warm-up film for sure.
Yeah. So Dennis is sort of looking around for work, but can't get any because you have to be in the guild, which is exclusive. He meets the peasant whose big innovation is that I say, since I can't get work, what I'll do, I cut off my own foot to make me a more effective beggar. But he still has a severed foot sitting there 2 inches away from the ankle he cut it off from, just like turning purple.
This is great.
This is quite grotesque.
Apparently Gilliam's favorite scene is, and again, it's very, it's another Python scene played straight kind of deal.
It's not even that straight. That's the thing. Some of it's not like consistently played straight. Some of the stuff is just straight up Python, like it would be in Holy Grail. And almost, I mean, honestly, there's like a version of this in Life of Brian coming up almost, where Michael Palin is the beggar who's very proud of his sort of innovation in making himself more
That's
hideous.
Right. This apparently is lifted directly from the Garden of Earthly Delights, a painting of hell by Hieronymus Bosch. This guy is there with his foot chopped off in front of him as a beggar. So yeah, I mean that's it's kind of the frankly that's the visual palette for the whole movie. Bosch and Bruegel, another medieval horror author, artist, so to speak, and And yeah, I love this guy's performance too. The joke is this guy he's a famous Cooper that Dennis and his father looked up to.
Yeah.
Who came to the city to make his fortune and is now reduced to chopping off his own foot to be a more pathetic beggar.
Yeah, but he's so proud of that innovation. That's what's where the humor, such as this, comes from there. So the king is this old, decrepit guy. I mean, he has this chamberlain who seems to be the brains of the operation.
Yeah,
and they have this sort of relationship like they're an old married couple. But he gives me the idea of we got to get rid of this monster, and so they're going to organize a jousting tournament to pick a champion to send out against the monster, and then if he slays the monster, then that champion will get to marry the princess, and I guess also get half of the kingdom, which.
If he marries the princess, presumably he is in line for the whole kingdom.
For the whole kingdom. Yeah, I would think so. That was an odd thing for me. I also thought, given how much, how not exactly seriously, but how much thought they put into the economics of the rest of the upper class in this dynamic, how quickly the king went to, oh yeah, and I'll give away half my kingdom too.
Well, I think a big part of it is that he's a shitty king and has no ideas. Sure. And so we're just falling back on breads and circuses again. It's just, let's put on a show and, and then we'll try to kill the beast that way. And if that doesn't work, I don't know, we'll do another show.
He does seem to kind of forget the overall purpose of the tournament pretty quickly once it gets started. And he's just enjoying the show, like you said. Mm-hmm. But before we get deep into the tournament, I guess, he meets the squire. He goes into the armory, which is such a Gilliam sequence. This is
so good, yeah.
Almost him coming into his own. It's if I was gonna pull anything from this movie to put in the Gilliam supercut to really highlight what his whole deal is, this is probably the only part of this movie that would make it in there. Because I think you start to see throughout the rest of the filmography, this is kind of how he sees all of Western civilization, which is a poorly designed Rube Goldberg contraption of machinery that's all very dehumanizing and also wasteful, but also it will fall apart into even more total disaster if someone tries to adjust anything to make it marginally more efficient, because he tries to suggest these guys are just doing this. How do you describe what they're doing with a gauntlet?
It's repetitive tasks. I mean, he has an anecdote in one of the books that kind of about this, which is that it's based on working on an assembly line for automobiles.
Chevrolet plant.
His job was washing inspector marks off the body of the cars with ammonia water. Just nonstop all day, which is, horrible, dehumanizing work. So he was just we're putting that in the movie. And it seems that part where they're hitting the gauntlet with the hammer, replacing the nail, you're just waiting for one of them to hit the hand there. It's almost funny that it doesn't happen, but I guess they're studied at that point. Until, of course, they change one little thing.
Yeah, he comes over and says, I think you can improve your efficiency if you moved like this, because you're reaching across your entire body to grab this little metal stud and put it all the way to your other outstretched hand where you're holding the gauntlet. And that sort of idiot kid seems to be just standing above the gauntlet with the mallet, whacking one at a time every time one goes in. And it's just this, like I said, complete repetitive mechanical thing. And he's and Palin comes in and says, well, I think you can improve your efficiency if you move this slightly closer. He moves it a little over, and that throws it off by a half an inch. And he whacks the guy's hand. He falls over, knocks over a rack of spears and halberds, and it becomes, the game Mousetrap of everything falling apart. And the entire armor, it's all of a sudden knights are being launched across the room on cables, because the knights are being lifted up on cables to be have their undercarriage of their armor worked on, like their cars getting oil changes.
It's extremely it is explosive, and it goes on a lot longer than you think it's going to, which is hilarious. Everything keeps exploding and people keep flying through windows and crashing into things, and
more things break than you realized were in the room.
And everyone's screaming in terror. It's a very funny scene.
It's very Gilliam.
Shot in one day, apparently. That's the budget they had. Yeah, which is nuts. Like that's one of those things that's too impossible to do. At least from what I gather, that you would never.
It seems like
it if you knew better.
You would be able to reset it all once, maybe during that day.
Just crazy shit. I'm guessing they cutting a lot of union rules to get this sort of thing done would be my guess. But I don't know. That's scurrilous. They didn't admit to that. Good scene. I don't know. This is the problem with this thing. It's all kind of episodic at this point. Like, it's the armory scene. It's the footless hobo scene, or the merchants on their human palanquin scenes.
Yeah, these are sketches.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I mean, I do like how the knights are portrayed in this as just fully mechanical beings. We never see one of their faces. They're just these giant, like,
yes.
And they have these huge sort of boxy cylinder helmets on. They're like almost as wide as their shoulders. They look like, I don't know, probably they look almost like the original Battlestar Galactica Cylons.
Yes, that's right. This is also kind of a Holy Grail thing a little bit. I mean, obviously there's featured knights in there, but there's a lot of anonymous ones too. The Black Knight comes to mind, of course. But they are more...
There'll be a Black Knight in this movie too, We'll get to at the end.
And the joust is actually fairly similar in how it presents to the armory. It's just bodies getting wrecked, and the king and the court getting split, just sprayed with blood. And everyone's kind of into it.
Well, first we have the sketch where he meets the squire guy, and he takes him to a tavern, and they do a sort of a sex farce thing where
you just cut this one right out for me, man. There's just probably about 3 too many characters running around in this, and this one I was just like, I'm not committing to knowing this dude.
Yeah, but the result of this is that Dennis ends up sort of fleeing into the tower, into the castle proper, and the tavern owner husband that the squire's cuckolding is chasing Palin around by mistake, and that leads them in front of the king. There's a little some Monty Python sketch stuff in there, but this is how Dennis ends up running through the castle and meeting the princess.
Yeah, I guess structurally this is doing a lot of fairy tale stuff. You know, the premise. You know, whoever can slay the beast gets my daughter's hand in marriage. That seems like that's such a fairy tale layup. It just seems like so not what this movie's interested in. It's way more interested in, like, everyone was crazy and dirty in the Middle Ages. Isn't that what this movie's about?
Yeah, kind of. And it's bringing a little bit of the Python thing of we're going to sprinkle in some, like, present-day British sensibility to contrast with the medievalness of it. But again, that's done to such a greater and more effective extent by Holy Grail that it feels a bit watered down. I mean, even to the point of this, the meeting the princess thing looks a lot like the Castle Anthrax sequence in Holy Grail.
Yes.
The king looks like he has the same makeup team as the prince from Swamp Castle, with the almost like kabuki white makeup on.
Mm-hmm. We didn't mention about the king. I love his introduction, which is, he's the king. You kind of expect, well, probably a name actor, frankly. Sort of Tony
he was
British.
Apparently to Gilliam he was.
Right, yeah. It's a guy named Max Wall. This is the vaudevillian dude who apparently was semi-blacklisted for public lewdness or something like that. And so this is his only film he ever really appeared in. He's sort of a decrepit old man. He's looking about 70 years old in Jabberwocky. Introduced having night terrors in his shitty bed. He gets woken up with a basin of dirty water, soaking his filthy nightgown, and he's just sort of writhing and screaming on his bed. And then when he's ushered in to meet the merchants, he kind of just falls in the dirt and scrambles around. Like this is sort of a pathetic figure as well, even as the king, and he has the power to kill people just on a whim, which he does a couple times. But he's a madman and sort of an old decaying one too. I mean, look,
he has a herald who goes on too long, heaping praises and
appellations
on him. Yes, and eventually he just has that guy summarily executed during one of these sketches. And then towards the end of the movie, there's a new guy who's palpably nervous to be in that role because he knows what happened to the other guy. He's like still wearing the other guy's uniform that's still covered in his blood.
I mean, this is pretty familiar in British comedy, frankly. This is a lot of Blackadder is based on, well, the king is mad and will kill us if we anger him, so we will just humor the king's madness. And yeah, it kind of hits a little hard in
relatable combat content, yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I mean, it's familiar stuff, but it's also, like, again, a little darker than other versions of it. You know,
Right.
Just visually, first off. You know, again, this is a dark, gross-looking movie, and then it's also a little more real than a lot of the sitcoms would play it.
Well, it's
Not
a little more
much.
real than Swamp Castle is.
Right.
To use the direct points of comparison here.
Yeah, I mean, again, that Holy Grail's a pretty violent movie, too, for what it is. So it's doing a lot of the same things.
Less blood spray, less severed appendages, sort of graphically depicted.
Well, you have those, just less, they're not, like, flying across the room in comic fashion.
The blood spray in Grail is so much less real. It's cartoonish.
I mean, the Jabberwock's move is to flay the skin from a body, which, I mean, it's a little cartoonish. It's just gruesomer.
Well, it leaves, black and red chunky skeletons.
Yeah.
There, it's gruesome, and I get in a way that Grail is not.
Mm-hmm.
Grail does. You see the like bright red, like Kool-Aid red blood squirting out. Like you can like see the squirt gun of it shooting out of the side of the Black Knight's severed arm. But this presents it a little more real. It's a little grosser, and but it's still impossible to take seriously. That's what
I think we're kind of getting to the core issue of this film, really, which is that it's a lot of sort of dystonal components that don't really fit together, and it is in direct contrast to the last film he made, because it's doing a lot of the same stuff, just less successfully.
Grail is so scattered and all over the place and unapologetically a sketch thing, but they all do kind of fit together totally.
I mean, this is closer, I guess, to an attempt to be something like Blazing Saddles, where it is a story that you take seriously, that is an overt satire of a genre, I guess.
As the target of its satire, Blazing Saddles gets to use American racism, versus this is a satire of medieval English economics.
And the Western genre as well is seems to be a little bit easier to kind of wrap your hands around than the Middle Ages films. There's not a lot of great ones of that, oddly enough. And kind of it's been covered by Holy Grail.
Exactly.
The ideas have been articulated and very funny in that film. So this film ends up being, one of the least seen of Gilliam's career for certain. This could have been it. This could have been the end of Gilliam as a director, because this thing is. It's just sort of diabolically small and doesn't exactly indicate what kind of director he's going to be, because it's such a half version of the last one.
In hindsight, like the armory scene does that, but
oh yeah, you can point to the stuff in retrospect. But if this you're just seeing this at the time, you're just like, well, it's kind of a mess. Yeah. Yeah,
you're not in 1977 seeing that scene and going, oh well, here I see. This is the direction that guy's career is going to take.
There's a lot of stuff that he ends up making something out of, and a lot of that is sort of social structures of things. Like he's quite fascinated by that, and yeah, madness always there, filth always there. So that's all quite loud here.
And there's this, real disgust for the upper classes and their sort of evil.
Yes,
but also paired with there's no valorizing of the lower classes or the middle class. There's a disdain for the middle class too. That like they're not necessarily more virtuous, because they would also sell out whatever virtue they have if it could get to the upper class to be as evil as them.
Absolutely, yeah. That is something else to put a pin in a little bit. There is a lack of romance about his protagonists. Always. Like, they tend to be opportunists and strivers and kind of selfish a lot of the time, most of the time. Not always, but a lot of the time. He doesn't have a lot of affection for these characters sometimes, and their fates often reflect that.
Yeah, being persecuted does not make them heroes.
Yeah.
Kind of. So our hero here, he meets the princess, who sort of immediately gloms onto him. Oh, finally, my fairy tale has started. Here's the prince come to take me out of the tower, and we will fall in love, and you will slay the monster, or whatever. And he tries to dissuade her of that, and be like, no, I got this whole potato thing going on. I'm not free to be wed. So anyway, he ends up fleeing the castle disguised as a nun. I think he gets peed on again in the process. And
I love the bit where she is professing her love for him as he is as she just met him, and behind her there's an actual knight climbing up the wall of the castle and sticks his head in, and he's like in the background. It's like, hey, I'm back here, and the castle crumbles and he falls to his death while they're talking.
Yes.
And they never noticed. That's a funny bit. Very short.
That's the guy that she thinks she's looking at when she sees Palin.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we have the other sketch where he's set upon in the street by the cult. That is
Strange Runner. Yeah.
Yeah, I and they're arguing over. I mean, this again could be straight out of Holy Grail. It's
very Holy Grail,
but it's also some seeds of Life of Brian in here too, with the sort of mob aspect of it. Mm-hmm. But they come bring him to a catapult where they're gonna strap him to it and light him on fire, and they're in their religious mania screaming about how this like purging they'll purge the evil from him and so on and so forth. And they get so carried away that some of the cultists start arguing that they want to be the ones lit on fire and launched over the castle wall. And he managed to escape just because their mania gets the better of them in a way that could be, again, directly out of Holy Grail.
Well, apparently the lead cultist is literally the guy who plays Jesus in Life of Brian.
But I mean, it also is like it feels a lot like the witch trial scene in Holy Grail to a degree,
Yes, it
but
does.
played much straighter. Like it almost does feel like they're going for some genuine menace here for a brief bit before
They're disturbing, these guys. They are real creepy sensualists. You know, they're really
They look gross.
frightening visages. They're like grabbing nipples and stuff, and they're creepy. Yeah.
yeah.
And that's sort of the movie in a nutshell, I guess. It's sort of a creepier, less funny version of Holy Grail, I suppose.
Yeah, kind of. So anyway, then we end up back at the tournament, which the Chamberlain started to note that they've
Running out of knights.
They're running out of knights. They haven't produced a champion. This may have been a colossal waste of resources, as it turns out. But the king is having a good time. He's getting covered in blood on the sidelines every time somebody gets killed in front of him. And they get into a little argument here about like, well, maybe there's another way of choosing a champion. Like what? And I don't know. We could just draw lots. And the king is outraged by this. And he's like, draw lots? Why not a leapfrog contest? Why not hide and seek? And then we cut to, they actually have the knights in their full Cylon armor sneaking around playing hide and seek to decide the final champion. Well, in the background, while Dennis is sort of having another powwow with the squire guy that he met earlier. And I don't know, this movie was not fully clicking with me for about this 75 minutes here, and this hide and seek scene really got me. Almost, I was like, you know what? I think I actually do like this movie.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, this is, I mean, it's going to be low on my list for Gilliam. But it is distinctly a Gilliam film. It's doing a lot of the stuff. It has a voice. It has an attitude. It has a swagger to it that is distinct, at least. And yeah, I mean, obviously, all this stuff is better in other films, but it is unmistakably part of his milieu and part of his deal. And yeah, you know, they all got to have their formative one. Well, I guess not all of them. Michael Mann comes fully formed. The Coen brothers come fully formed.
Sure, yeah.
but
most people, yeah, most people are not like that.
Most got to have something they work their craft through and just kind of figure out how to be on a set.
Yeah, and elaborate medieval movies are probably a pretty hard place to like do your film school work like that.
I suppose so. Yeah. Kubrick apparently saw the movie and he gave them and called them. And they were like, wow, you like the movie? And he's like, well, I'm really impressed that you made it on that budget. He wanted to know how they made it on the budget.
Which I guess they did by reusing a lot of sets from other movies. I forget what it was, Camelot or something.
Well, there's so many medieval things that shoot in England. There's castles everywhere, you know.
Yeah, but the whole thing with Holy Grail is they could only get access to one castle in Scotland, all of Scotland, on the budget they're on.
Apparently, a big way they did it is a lot of the sets are just these black voids, which is like black fabric hung on construction beams, you know, and lit in such a way that it's just sort of a void of darkness. Basically, anytime you're inside the castle.
Yeah, there's just deep shadows everywhere because they don't have proper walls.
And that informs what's going on, though. I mean, that makes the whole place seem, you know, grubby and gross and shabby and really not worth any esteem. He's, you know, a proper place for this king to exist. You know,
yes.
Like he's sort of a Gollum figure almost, you know, lives in a cave practically. And there's no ceremony to the Great Hall, you know. It's certainly not the Iron Throne here. It's just a tapestry kind of draped on a chair in a black void with candles.
Now that we have a champion from the hide and seek game, it's the knight of the red herring. He's got a red fish on his helmet.
It's a good helmet.
Yeah. And he is the knight who the guy is a squire to that has been sort of palling around with Dennis. But that guy doesn't want any part of chasing a monster when he could just be plowing the innkeeper's wife. And so he kind of just bullies Dennis into taking his place. And the knight is this big lummox that has, I mean, you know, barely human. Cannot tell the difference between these guys apparently, or does not care enough.
Yeah.
You know, Dennis goes out with the knight to go chase down the Jabberwocky. And we're into our third act, I guess.
Such as it is. Yes.
First, they encounter the fish fingers being attacked by a group of, barbarian bandits.
Marauders. Sure.
Yes. He and Dennis and the knights drive off the marauders, and the fish fingers basically just shove Dennis down into the dirt and step on him to fawn over the knight, thinking, oh, this is like Griselda will marry this knight, and she is mad. She is working overtime, fawning over him. Yeah, it's a great part. I mean, Gilliam and Palin are losing it on the commentary. Just like look at her face, like it's just she's never still for a second during the scene. She's constantly trying to coo and go over him.
On the commentary, they also kind of correctly identify that they really botched the action scene here. Like it's just sort of chaos and doesn't make a lot of sense.
I mean, it makes sense. Dennis is not an action hero. He is just sort of fumbling through there, and then all of a sudden raising his head up and realizing everybody else is dead. So they tell Dennis even after he helps save their lives, he does it in the shadow of somebody of higher social status. So they tell him he's a piece of shit, nothing, and not worthy of their daughter, and run off to the city without him. Now we meet the Black Knight, I suppose. Yeah. Very, very late in here for this like villain to appear, I guess. But the merchants that want to continue profiting from the monster terrorizing the countryside get together and hire their own big hulking guy in black armor. Actually played by David Prowse, Darth Vader himself, in the side of the armor. Yeah. Because apparently Empire Strikes Back was shooting around the corner from Jabberwocky this whole time.
Star Wars, the orig.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That made somebody on one of the like behind the scenes thing I watched referred to it as Empire. That's probably how I got 1980 into my head, actually. But yeah, I guess it would have been Star Wars then.
Yeah, Elstree. They were both at Elstree Studios. Yes. I bet Prowse did a lot of, like, I'm in a big costume roles, though.
Yes, that was his career. Gilliam and Palin also have a good giggle. Like, everybody at the time was, they were next door, so their crews would mingle, and everybody talked about how much the crew all hated working on Star Wars, and how much our crew loved working on this movie. Yeah, then 6 months later, the movies come out, and suddenly, nobody's going around wearing Jabberwocky T-shirts from our crew.
That's kind of funny that this is brushing up against that. That it's kind of touching that greatness, like right down the hall They're shooting the cantina scene from Star Wars. That's nuts to me.
Well, it's just interesting how you never know during the making of this. Some things that feel like a complete disaster end up being pretty successful, and some things that everybody feels really good about while they're making it just come out and fall right on their belly.
Yeah. I mean, you see the films and it makes sense. Yeah, like this one was never going to find its audience, I guess. Well, I don't know. I guess it did ultimately. I mean, this probably found every bit of its audience.
Yeah, a little bit. So anyway, they send the Black Knight out to kill the Red Knight, and that's because they want the monster to stay alive. And so the Knight and some assorted goons ambush them at the Jabberwocky's lair, and the Black Knight hacks the Red Knight in half. I liked that gore effect actually quite well.
Yeah.
I always something, if you're making a medieval movie, here's my advice to you. Find a way to hack a human body in half, like from an angle that we have not seen before. This is like sort of down the shoulder, like separating one arm, not just hacking an arm off, but hacking off the entire body up top to bottom in half, but not equally.
Yes, it's very good. Mm-hmm. It's a Rob Roy move.
Oh yeah, I guess that's the best.
That's the best one of it. Yeah,
but this gets to go over the top and cartoony with separating the body in half more than Rob Roy does.
Good violence throughout, really, but in the third act, it really is like that's some great shit. Yeah.
So he's about to kill Dennis. Suddenly, the Jabberwocky actually appears, and Dennis has thrown the other knight's giant helmet on, so we're just seeing it through the slit where you can't see very much. And it seems like at first maybe we're only going to see the monster's legs or something. But they show us the whole Jabberwocky, luckily. And it's a big, nasty-looking Muppet monster.
A hilarious bird creature, yeah. This is pretty
skeletal
great.
Bird creature, I guess, with
desiccated
green
wings.
ooze coming from it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That shouldn't allow it to fly, but it does. It's sort of...
We never see it fly.
Well, we see the POV. Yeah.
Oh, I suppose.
It comes from above every time for the kills. But
it could have been coming from the trees. It doesn't matter. This is apparently there's a man inside this creature thing, but he's like facing backwards inside of it so that they could have its legs bend back like a bird's, which is
that's cool.
That's Gilliam has a gift for design and monster design, especially, I would say.
I find this fascinating because it's certainly not. You don't believe this thing exists or anything. Like it's very clear what the effect being used to make this thing is. It's a big rubber monster suit. It still looks awesome. It's fantastic. This thing is such a payoff after not seeing the Jabberwocky the whole movie. Movie this size, this budget that looks like this, you would not expect this thing to look cool, but it does. It looks really cool. It even as it doesn't break the bank or your suspension of disbelief, it is quite obviously what it is. It doesn't matter. It's just great looking. Like a horrible CGI thing. Obviously, they couldn't do that at the time, but it would ruin the film.
Oh yeah, speaking of Star Wars, if they had gone back and do a special edition of Jabberwocky where inserted a CGI monster, like that would be a crime. I mean, it was a crime when they did a Star Wars. Really has become the consensus. But
well, now is this just because of who we are and when we live? And I mean, if we saw this in the 80s, as most people did on home video, we get to that, or we just like, oh, this thing's stupid looking. Because
hard to tell.
We're not tired of CGI and we love practical effects. Hard to tell.
I don't know. I mean, people kind of like, cool. Even in the 80s, they did like the Clash of the Titans or whatever. That is kind of a throwback thing, even at the time, compared to the older like Harryhausen stop motion effects. And people as irritating as we are now, back then, at least, liked that for being a throwback thing back then. So I don't know. I think, people like Muppets. Muppets are fun.
Yeah, this one certainly is.
Not like general audiences, but, our people.
This is like a mutant toxic Avenger giant chicken creature. It's fantastic. This would fit in a trauma film. And
very much.
And it is a blast. And it when it is stabbed, it spurts thick green goo. It's kind of heightened and silly, but it's gross. And so, yeah, it is the appropriate monster for the end of this film in every way. It actually pays off the thread of the thing, the whole movie, which I wouldn't have guessed they'd do, but they do.
The Black Knight fights it, injures it pretty good. It looks like he might have killed it, and then it pops up and knocks him off a cliff kind of summarily.
Yeah.
And then Dennis is just sort of grabs the big, two-handed claymore sword that the Black Knight was using, and is cowering, but has it pointed upward over his shoulder as the monster sort of throws itself down to eat him and accidentally stabs itself, impales itself on the giant sword.
On the head.
So,
his eyes explode. It's great.
Yeah. So Dennis slays the monster through basically, no bravery or martial feats of his own, kind of by a fluke, and takes the body back to the castle where he is hailed as a hero, and Griselda is suddenly interested in him now that he is the man of the hour, but he is forcibly married to the princess instead, and given half the kingdom that he didn't ask for and doesn't want, and really goes off to be married to the princess, distressed that he didn't get to marry his
sort of cruel,
big fat grotesque lummox of a
which is funny.
Yeah, who also hates him, who holds him in contempt, and he's still upset because he didn't get what he wanted exactly. And I guess that's part of the satire or whatever of this character, that he just wants all the wrong things.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of figure he'll figure it out eventually, but maybe not. Maybe he's just an idiot. That is certainly something you have to allow for in this film, and he's just gonna pine for Griselda the rest of his life and continue to be a shitty king like Bruno has been, and the cycle will perpetuate. I guess would be the dark satirical ending of the Jabberwock, but. I don't know. It is a fantasy satire as well, so it has all the beats. I don't know. I mean, I guess this is the ending it has to be.
This movie doesn't totally work. The fact that the last 15 minutes are my favorite of it by far, I think helps send it out on a higher note. Gives me a little rosier look at it than I had for the majority of the runtime.
I think this is a more fun movie to have seen than to watch. It's not a particularly funny movie when you watch it. I mean, there's a lot of stuff, that are Monty Python sketches but they don't quite play like those. And you're sort of intellectually just like, oh yeah, I get that. It's clever, without actually laughing. Kind of my reaction to it. Like, as we got into it here, I'm a little struck at the sort of social commentary here, the political ideas. And stuff like that. It's not particularly deep, for what it is, but it is direct, and it is baked into the narrative in a way that actually is somewhat impressive. I mean, there's parody in something like Eddington to what this is doing, honestly. Gilliam talks about on the disc how everyone thought it was like a diatribe about Thatcher, and he was like, no, it's just kind of everything. It's just kind of just pissed about everything. And I get that, and he's going to get a lot more direct and elaborate with his social
focused
critiques.
with a satire, because he's coming out of Python, and Python can be a lot more scattershot because it's a sketch troupe, and sketch is scattershot by nature. And by the time he gets to Brazil, he's got it his critiques honed down to a sharper point.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a hell of a film. I mean, it's even going to happen as soon as the next movie, though, which is not technically directed by him. But the next thing we're going to talk about here, Life of Brian. It's an appropriate time to talk about that one because it's kind of a great film. And Meaning of Life has some stuff, too. So next time we come back to Gilliam, it's going to be in the context of Terry Jones films, actually.
Yeah, we got to talk about Life of Brian. It's too much. The Python stuff, he's too much of an auteur within Python of that stuff to leave it out of his career retrospective, I'd say.
Mm-hmm. I mean, even if he can't claim ownership of the next two movies in the way he technically can of Holy Grail, it certainly is an extrapolation.
Jabberwocky.
Well, sure. But this is very much his thing, and it's the kind of story and the kind of thing he's going to keep telling, maybe more than Jones, who has sort of a tumultuous directing career afterwards. But yeah, Life of Brian is kind of a top-shelf satire. And so we kind of just want to have a moment to talk about that one. So that'll be next on And Now for Something Completely Gilliam. And then we'll get into the, a series of masterpieces, which I can't wait to discuss with you, Al, that kind of take a lot of the ideas that are established here in Jabberwocky and give them their full articulation.
All right. Looking forward to it.
Yes, sir. Okay. And that's it. Thanks for listening.
For a system of government.
It's evil! Don't touch it!
That was only one of the many occasions on which I met my death.